really like a survival out there to try and just keep it together. Of course, to hang on to second for us was a really, really strong result.
Max Verstappen finished P2 in a car he'd spent the entire weekend calling undrivable, and afterward, even he couldn't explain how. "I still don't really understand how we are second," he said, flat out, to his own team's media pen. But the car wasn't the only thing breaking down this weekend. Between an unfiltered radio rant at his own sister team, a tense exchange with his own team boss, and reports of a genuine power struggle inside Red Bull's management structure, this result is covering up a lot more than a bad handling car. Here's the full weekend, and what it's actually revealing underneath. Let's get into it, but before, if you want more updates and news on Max, then hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns. Quick context before we get into it. Verstappen's contract runs to the end of 2028, but it carries a performance-based exit clause, and after his Silverstone DNF, that clause is now mathematically active. He cannot finish the summer break inside the top 2 of the championship. Contractually, he has until October to decide whether to use it. Reports from gptoday.net describe a technical department in disarray, with senior figures departing and Laurent Mekies, now described as the only senior motorsport figure left in Red Bull's leadership structure. Separately, Dutch outlets report Red Bull's shareholders are extremely annoyed that Verstappen hasn't committed to staying. That's the backdrop this Hungarian Grand Prix weekend played out against, and it shaped almost everything that happened next. Here's exactly what happened on track. Verstappen started 4th after Saturday's grid penalties, and by his own account, struggled with the same issues all race oversteer, degradation, a car he called undrivable more than once. Yet he crossed the line 2nd, behind only Lando Norris, after Oscar Piastri retired with a gearbox failure. Verstappen's own reaction on record. "So yeah, overall, I still don't really understand how we are second. I think as a team, we performed strongly, so I see it as a bit of an overperformance to what we expected." He also revealed something new post-race. He found actual damage on the car after climbing out, cause still unexplained, a podium, and the driver who earned it still doesn't fully know why. The result hinged on one specific moment. On lap 14, Ferrari undercut Verstappen by pitting Hamilton early, and Hamilton emerged ahead on track. 1 lap later, Verstappen dispatched Racing Bull's Liam Lawson with ease, then, at the start of lap 16, dove down the inside of turn 1 under braking to retake Hamilton, their tires brushing on the exit. Verstappen's own explanation was characteristically understated. "I knew that was my only opportunity because they were not too bad in terms of pace, so when I saw the opportunity arise, I went for it." He later added that he felt Hamilton wasn't paying attention going into the corner. Whatever the read, it's already being called one of the best overtakes of the 2026 season, and it directly bought him the position that became his podium. Okay, before we go any further, make sure you're smashing that hype button, because this next part is where it gets a lot more insane. Now, the part that wasn't on the broadcast. Later in the race, Verstappen got stuck behind Red Bull's own sister team, Racing Bull's Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad, who were racing each other side by side and appeared to miss the blue flags, telling them to let a much faster car through. Verstappen's unfiltered radio since surfaced on social media. "They should get a penalty. This is fucking ridiculous, these morons. My God." Worth noting for fairness, he wasn't alone. Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri had near-identical reactions to the same malfunctioning marshalling system that weekend. Still, hearing Red Bull's own champion call his sister team's drivers morons, live, unfiltered, is the kind of moment that doesn't need embellishing to be a story. That radio blast wasn't an isolated flash of temper, it fits a pattern from the same weekend. During Saturday's qualifying spin, Verstappen and team principal Laurent Mekies had what's been described as a tense back and forth over the radio, with Mekies attempting to console him and Verstappen repeating that the car was undrivable. Red Bull then pulled Verstappen straight into an immediate meeting with Mekies after qualifying, cutting his media duties short, reportedly to address the RB22's issues directly rather than let him keep talking to press. None of this, on its own, proves a crisis. But stacked together across one single weekend, a heated radio exchange with his boss, an abrupt media cutoff, and an unfiltered blow-up at his own junior team, it's a lot of friction for a driver who's supposedly deciding his future within months. Here's the part that goes beyond one bad weekend. According to GPtoday.net reporting, Red Bull's technical department has lost multiple senior figures in recent months, with roles filled from other divisions rather than experienced motorsport engineers leaving Makeys, per that report, as the last senior figure in the leadership structure with deep motorsport expertise. Separately, Dutch media reports cited by Yahoo Sports describe Red Bull's shareholders as extremely annoyed that Verstappen hasn't committed long-term, with a sabbatical or full exit now described as serious options being considered inside his camp. We're flagging clearly. These are reported characterizations, not confirmed statements from Verstappen or Red Bull directly. But they're consistent from multiple outlets, and they line up with exactly the kind of friction we just watched play out on track and over the radio. The numbers. Verstappen started P4, finished P2, his fourth podium of the season, 0.5 seconds off pole originally in a car he called undrivable throughout the weekend. His overtake on Hamilton came on lap 16 of 70, immediately after the two Ferraris and Red Bulls cycled through the first pit stop phase. Hamilton finished fifth after a 5-second penalty for pit lane speeding, dropping him behind his own teammate Charles Leclerc and 50 points behind Antonelli in the championship. On the contract situation, Verstappen's deal runs through 2028, but the performance clause is confirmed mathematically active after his Silverstone DNF took him out of the top two in the standings. He has until October to decide whether to exercise it. Red Bull currently sits fourth in the Constructors' Championship. Reported elements. The scale of technical department departures and shareholder frustration, both attributed directly to GPtoday.net and Dutch media reporting via Yahoo Sports, kept separate here from the on-record facts above so you can weigh them accordingly. Here's the honest read. On the surface, this was a good weekend for Verstappen, a podium salvaged from a car he didn't trust, capped by one of the best overtakes of the year. Underneath it, the same weekend produced a radio blow-up at his own junior team, a tense exchange with his own boss, and fresh reporting about real structural problems inside Red Bull's management. A result this good was never going to quiet those questions. If anything, it buys time without answering them. October is still the date that matters most here. We'll be tracking every one of these threads until then, the car, the radio, and the decision underneath all of it. Smash that hype button, subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.